Have you ever wondered why two people can eat the same number of calories and see completely different results in their energy, weight, or muscle gain? It turns out the answer isn't just in the calorie count. It's in the timing, the type of food, and most importantly, in how your brain and body respond to what you eat. This is not just about willpower or discipline. This is biology. And the more we understand how nutrition interacts with our neurochemistry and hormones, the more we can leverage food, not just to look better, but to feel and function better. Sharper focus, better sleep, more stable moods, stronger metabolism, greater muscular strength and recovery. Here's what the research shows. Food is information. Every bite you take sends a signal to your brain, your gut, your muscles, your fat cells. It's a chemical message that either moves you toward health and performance or away from it. And what's fascinating is that even small science-backed changes in when and how you eat can radically shift your ability to burn fat, build lean muscle, and maintain mental clarity. This episode is about those changes. We'll explore how certain eating patterns like protein timing, nutrient density, glycemic control, and circadian-aligned meals can literally rewire your metabolism and optimize your energy system. You'll learn how to eat in a way that triggers fat loss without crashing your energy, what your brain is doing during fasting and how to make it work for you, the link between blood sugar, mood swings, and body composition, and how to structure meals to support lean muscle growth and metabolic health. This isn't a diet plan, it's a neuroscience-informed strategy for fueling your body and mind. Whether your goal is fat loss, cognitive performance, or simply living longer and stronger, understanding the science of eating is one of the most powerful tools you have. Let's dive in. When you eat may be just as important as what you eat. That's not a slogan, it's biology. Our bodies operate on a roughly 24-hour internal clock known as the circadian rhythm. This biological rhythm regulates almost everything: hormone release, body temperature, digestion, and even gene expression. But here's what's especially relevant. Your metabolism is circadian too. Research from Dr. Sachin Panda's lab at the Salk Institute has shown that our digestive system and metabolic organs, like the liver, pancreas, and gut, are not designed to function optimally around the clock. Instead, they follow predictable cycles of heightened and reduced activity. For example, insulin sensitivity, your body's ability to process carbohydrates without spiking blood sugar, is highest in the morning and early afternoon, and significantly reduced in the evening. That means the same meal eaten at 8 a.m. will have a very different metabolic impact than if it were eaten at 10 p.m. This is why late night eating is linked to higher fat storage, impaired glucose tolerance, and disrupted sleep. One study published in Cell Metabolism found that people who ate the majority of their calories earlier in the day had better weight loss outcomes, improved insulin sensitivity, and more stable energy, even when total calorie intake was the same. So what's happening in your brain and body when you eat late versus early? When you eat close to your natural bedtime, melatonin, the hormone that prepares your brain for sleep, interferes with insulin secretion. This results in higher post-meal blood sugar and less efficient fat metabolism. Your body is essentially trying to wind down while you're asking it to digest a large meal. There's also a neurological piece to this. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain's master clock, coordinates signals to your peripheral clocks in the liver and gut. When your eating patterns are aligned with your light exposure and sleep-wake cycle, the system is in sync. But when you eat at odd hours, it creates what's known as circadian misalignment, and that disrupts everything from fat oxidation to appetite regulation. A simple tool to apply this: time-restricted eating, which means consuming all of your daily calories within a consistent 8-12-hour window, ideally starting within an hour or two of waking and ending well before bedtime. It's not about fasting for the sake of restriction. It's about creating metabolic predictability, giving your body time to digest and reset. Have you ever noticed that eating a heavy dinner late at night leads to poor sleep, mental fog the next day, or even skipped workouts, that's not lack of motivation. It's your biology trying to cope with metabolic chaos. Here's a starting protocol based on the research. Begin eating within 60-90 minutes of waking. Keep your eating window to 10-12 hours max. For example, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., front load your calories. Aim to consume most of your carbs and calories earlier in the day. Avoid meals 2-3 hours before sleep to allow for digestion and natural melatonin production. When your meals are aligned with your circadian rhythm, you're not just supporting fat loss, you're optimizing digestion, stabilizing energy, and even enhancing brain function. In fact, studies show that circadian aligned eating improves memory, alertness, and emotional regulation, likely due to better sleep quality and blood sugar control. This is one of those principles that's simple, not easy, especially in a world built around late night meals and long work days. But just like training in the gym, the key is consistency, not perfection. Start with one change. Close your eating window a bit earlier tonight. Notice how you sleep, how you wake up, and how you feel tomorrow. When it comes to building lean muscle and burning fat, protein is the most important macronutrient. But here's where most people miss the mark. It's not just the total daily amount of protein that matters. It's how you distribute it across your day. Let's break that down with the science. Muscle growth is governed by a process called muscle protein synthesis, or MPS. Think of it like flipping a light switch. When you consume a certain amount of protein, especially those rich in the amino acid leucine, you activate MPS. This is your body's signal to start repairing and building muscle fibers. But here's the catch. That switch doesn't stay on all day. It spikes for about 3 to 5 hours after a protein-rich meal, then returns to baseline. This means that eating all your protein in 1 or 2 large meals isn't nearly as effective as spreading it across 3 to 4 evenly spaced meals, each with enough high-quality protein to stimulate MPS. In a 2014 study published in the Journal of Nutrition, researchers compared 2 groups consuming the exact same amount of protein daily. One group ate the majority of their protein at dinner. The other distributed it evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The result? The evenly distributed group had 25% higher muscle protein synthesis over a 24-hour period. That's the difference between just maintaining your muscle and actively building it. So what's the optimal amount of protein per meal? Research suggests that 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per meal is the sweet spot for maximizing MPS with about 3 to 4 meals per day. For a 70 kilogram person, that's about 28 grams, of protein per meal, ideally from complete sources like eggs, fish, poultry, or high-quality plant combinations like lentils with rice. And this matters not just for athletes, but for anyone over 30 when age muscle loss, sarcopenia, begins to accelerate. Maintaining muscle mass is critical not just for strength and aesthetics, but for metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, and long-term independence. Let's also talk about the anabolic window, the 30 to 90 minutes post-workout where protein intake is especially effective. While recent research has softened the urgency of that window, studies still show that consuming protein shortly after resistance training enhances muscle recovery and growth, particularly when it contains at least 2 to 3 grams of leucine. Here's a simple daily framework you can apply. 3 to 4 protein-rich meals, spaced 4 to 5 hours apart, 25-35 grams of complete protein per meal. Include protein within 60 minutes post-workout to support recovery. Consider starting your day with protein, which also helps with satiety and blood sugar regulation. You might be wondering, what about snacks? Can you graze on protein throughout the day? Interestingly, constant low-level protein intake, like sipping protein shakes all day, doesn't maximize MPS. Your body needs a threshold amount to trigger synthesis. It's like filling a glass halfway multiple times without ever drinking it. You're using resources but not getting the benefit. If this insight is helping you rethink how you eat, consider subscribing. We go deep into the science behind health and performance, and there's much more to come. One final note. Protein also has the highest thermic effect of all the macronutrients, meaning your body burns more calories digesting it compared to carbs or fats. That's a subtle but powerful tool for fat loss. And when paired with resistance training, it helps you preserve muscle while in a caloric deficit, which is the holy grail of body recomposition. The key takeaway: don't just count grams, count distribution. Spread your protein intelligently across the day, and your body will respond with strength, leanness, and resilience. Have you ever eaten a big lunch and then felt like your brain just shut off? You're not imagining it. What's happening is a sharp spike and then a crash in your blood sugar. And this roller coaster doesn't just affect your energy. It impacts your cravings, mood, focus, fat storage, and even long-term disease risk. Let's unpack what's actually going on in your body and brain. When you eat carbohydrates, especially refined ones like white bread, pastries, or sweetened drinks, your blood glucose rises. That triggers the release of insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas that shuttles glucose into your cells for energy or storage. In the short term, this system works beautifully, but when the glucose spike is too high, your body often overcorrects, leading to a dip in blood sugar known as reactive hypoglycemia. That's when the yawning, irritability, and cravings kick in. Your brain senses the drop in glucose, its primary fuel, and demands more, often in the form of quick sugar or caffeine hits. This is how the cycle perpetuates itself: spike, crash, repeat. Now, here's why that matters for fat loss and lean muscle. Frequent blood sugar spikes and the resulting insulin surges make it harder to burn fat. Elevated insulin suppresses lipolysis, the process by which fat cells release stored energy. Over time, repeated spikes can also lead to insulin resistance, a condition where cells become less responsive to insulin, forcing the body to produce even more of it. That's the road to metabolic dysfunction. The good news? There are incredibly effective science-backed ways to flatten the glucose curve, which keeps energy stable and metabolism humming. Here are 4 tools you can use immediately. Eat your meals in the right order. This might sound too simple to be powerful, but it works. A study published in Diabetes Care found that eating vegetables and proteins before carbohydrates reduced post-meal blood sugar by 30-40%. The fiber and protein slow gastric emptying, reducing the glucose spike from the carbs that follow. A little. Move after meals. Even just a little. A 2022 meta-analysis in sports medicine showed that just 2 to 10 minutes of light movement after eating, like walking or doing dishes, significantly reduces blood sugar levels. Muscles act like sponges for glucose, pulling it out of your bloodstream without requiring a big insulin response. Combine carbs with protein, fat, or fiber. Instead of eating carbs alone, pair them with protein or healthy fat, like an apple with almond butter or rice with salmon and avocado. These combinations slow absorption and reduce glycemic load. Start your day with a high-protein, low-sugar breakfast. Breakfast sets your metabolic tone. A 2015 study from the University of Missouri found that high-protein breakfasts reduced ghrelin, the hunger hormone, stabilized glucose, and led to lower caloric intake throughout the day. So instead of trying to cut carbs completely, which can backfire for many people, focus on controlling the context in which you eat them. Here's a quick mental framework. Order, combine, move. Eat in the right order, combine carbs with protein or fiber. Move after meals. These micro adjustments can create macro results over time. Also worth noting, your brain loves stable glucose. It rewards you with better focus, mood, and emotional regulation when it's not riding the highs and lows of a sugar crash. In fact, emerging research suggests that mood instability and irritability in many people may stem from blood sugar volatility, not personality or willpower. So next time you find yourself reaching for a third coffee or a bag of chips mid-afternoon, ask yourself, what did I eat earlier and in what order? Did I move afterward? You're not broken. You're just biochemically responding to your last meal. With a few simple strategies, you can break the cycle and build a foundation of calm, clear energy that supports everything else in your life. Your gut isn't just digesting food. It's sending powerful signals to your brain that shape how you feel, what you crave, and whether you stay full or overeat. In fact, researchers often refer to the gut as the second brain for good reason. Let's explore why. Lining your gastrointestinal tract are over 100 million neurons, more than in your spinal cord. This network is called the enteric nervous system, and it communicates constantly with your brain via the vagus nerve, hormonal signals, and even gut-diagnostic neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. What does that mean in everyday terms? It means that what and how you eat directly affects your mood, focus, motivation, and hunger levels, not just in the moment, but across the entire day. Let's start with hunger signaling. Your body uses several key hormones to regulate hunger and fullness. Two of the most important are ghrelin, which signals hunger, leptin, which signals satiety or fullness. Ghrelin is often called the hunger hormone. It rises before meals and falls after eating. But it's especially sensitive to meal composition and sleep. Diets high in processed carbs and low in fiber and protein tend to cause unstable ghrelin cycles, meaning you feel hungry again far too soon. Leptin, on the other hand, is produced by fat cells and tells your brain how much stored energy you have. But here's the twist. In people who eat ultra-processed diets or experience chronic inflammation, the brain can become resistant to leptin. That means the signal doesn't get through, and your brain falsely believes you need more food even when you've had enough. This is one of the core mechanisms behind overeating, weight gain, and the feeling of never feeling satisfied, no matter how much you eat. So what can we do to restore balance to this system? Let's look at the tools the science supports. Increase fiber intake, especially from diverse plant sources. Soluble fiber slows digestion and helps signal fullness through stretch receptors in the stomach. But even more interestingly, fiber feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which then produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation and improve leptin sensitivity. Prioritize whole foods over ultra-processed foods. A landmark 2019 NIH study found that people eating ultra-processed diets consumed 500 more calories per day than those eating unprocessed meals, even when both diets were matched for calories and macronutrients. The processed group ate faster, felt less full, and had disrupted satiety signaling. Eat mindfully and slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for satiety signals to reach your brain. Eating too quickly overrides this feedback loop. By slowing down, chewing thoroughly, and minimizing distractions, you give your body time to register fullness before you overeat. Include fermented foods for microbial diversity. Foods like yogurt, kimchi, kefir, sauerkraut, and miso increase gut microbiome diversity, which has been linked to lower inflammation, improved glucose control, and even better mental health. Your microbiota are essentially co-pilots in regulating hunger, mood, and metabolism. And here's the deeper takeaway. When your gut is balanced, your cravings normalize. You stop battling willpower and start feeling in control because your biology is aligned with your goals. And this is why nutrition is never just about calories in, calories out. It's about communication between your gut, your brain, and your cells. If this breakdown of the gut-brain axis is resonating with you, consider subscribing. We're building a community of people who want to master their biology and make science-backed decisions that lead to real transformation. And we've got much more coming your way. Remember, The path to sustained fat loss and lean muscle isn't about deprivation. It's about restoring the natural signals your body's designed to follow. And that starts in the gut. What if I told you that when you eat might be just as important as what you eat? It might sound surprising, but your metabolism runs on a schedule. And that schedule is governed by something deeply wired into your biology. Your circadian rhythm, the internal 24-hour clock that regulates everything from your sleep and hormone release to your body temperature, digestion, and even how efficiently you burn calories. Let's break this down. Your body's master clock is located in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, of the brain, and it's primarily set by light. But there are also peripheral clocks in your liver, pancreas, fat cells, and gut. These peripheral clocks are entrained not by light, but by food intake. And when you eat at times that are out of sync with your circadian rhythm, it can cause metabolic confusion, raising your risk of fat gain, insulin resistance, and even sleep disruption. Here's what the research shows. A pivotal 2013 study from the International Journal of Obesity found that people who ate their largest meal earlier in the day lost significantly more weight than those who consumed the same calories but ate later. A 2020 review in Cell Metabolism reinforced this idea, showing that our bodies are more insulin sensitive in the morning and early afternoon, meaning we process glucose more efficiently earlier in the day. Why does this matter? Because eating late at night, especially heavy meals, throws off your circadian alignment. It can impair sleep, disrupt overnight fat oxidation, and lead to more glucose being stored as fat. Essentially, your metabolism becomes less efficient as the day goes on. So what's the solution? You don't have to follow rigid rules, but here are science-backed principles you can use. 1, front load your calories. Aim to eat more of your calories earlier in the day, especially around breakfast and lunch. And taper as you move toward the evening. This supports better blood sugar control, higher energy, and improved fat oxidation. Think of it like this: fuel when the sun is up, wind down as it sets. 2, establish a consistent eating window. Time-restricted eating, also called intermittent fasting, has shown promise not just for fat loss, but for improving insulin sensitivity and reducing inflammation. One of the most studied versions is a 10-hour eating window, aligned with daylight hours. For example, eating between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. has been associated with improved glucose regulation and better sleep quality. But remember, it's not about skipping meals, but about concentrating them within a consistent earlier window. 3, avoid late night eating. Eating within 2 hours of bedtime has been shown to disrupt sleep quality and blunt growth hormone release, which is crucial for fat burning and muscle recovery overnight. Your digestive system also slows down in the evening, meaning late meals are more likely to cause reflux, poor digestion, and next day sluggishness. Ask yourself, am I actually hungry or just bored, tired, or emotionally triggered? Often, late night cravings are driven by stress or exhaustion, not true energy needs. 4, anchor your first meal to sunlight. Eating your first meal within a couple of hours of waking, ideally after getting sunlight in your eyes, helps align your peripheral clocks with your brain's master clock. This promotes metabolic harmony and a more stable appetite throughout the day. This isn't about perfection, it's about rhythm. Your body loves rhythm in sleep, in movement, and yes, in nutrition. When you eat in sync with your biology, everything flows better. Energy, hormones, hunger, mood. You're not just feeding your body, you're setting its tempo. When it comes to building and preserving lean muscle, there is one macronutrient that stands above the rest: protein, but its role goes far beyond muscle. Protein is critical for hormone production, neurotransmitter synthesis, immune function, and satiety. It's also the most thermogenic macronutrient, meaning your body burns more calories digesting it than carbs or fats. Let's look at why protein is a cornerstone of any nutrition plan focused on fat loss, muscle gain, or simply aging well. Here's what's happening in your body. Every time you consume a high-protein meal, you activate a cellular process called muscle protein synthesis, MPS. This is your body's way of repairing and building muscle tissue. But MPS isn't just stimulated by any food, it's especially triggered by the amino acid leucine found abundantly in high-quality animal proteins like eggs, chicken, beef, and dairy. Research shows that to fully stimulate muscle growth in adults, each meal should contain at least 2 to 3 grams of leucine, which usually translates to 25-35 grams of high-quality protein per meal. Why does this matter? Because muscle isn't just for athletes. It's one of the most metabolically active tissues in your body. It helps regulate blood sugar, supports bone density, and protects against age metabolic decline. In fact, higher muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of longevity and resilience during illness. Now, here's the kicker. As you age, especially after you're 30, yes, your body becomes less sensitive to the muscle building effects of protein. This is called anabolic resistance. It means you need more protein per meal to get the same muscle building response. So if you're eating just 10 or 15 grams per meal, you're likely understimulating this key process and missing out on the benefits. Here are some practical tools grounded in the science. 1, distribute protein evenly across meals. Instead of a small amount at breakfast and a large amount at dinner, a common pattern, aim for 30 to 40 grams of protein in each main meal. This promotes maximal muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. A good target for most active individuals is 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, according to findings published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. 2, prioritize leucine-rich sources, complete protein sources like eggs, fish, poultry, beef, whey, or soy, contain all essential amino acids, including leucine. While plant-based options can also support muscle, they often require larger portions or strategic combinations to meet the leucine threshold. 3, use protein strategically around training. Consuming a protein-rich meal or shake within 2 hours post-exercise enhances muscle repair and growth. But more importantly, what matters most is total daily intake, so focus on consistency. 4, leverage protein for satiety and fat loss. Multiple studies, including a 2005 paper in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, show that higher protein diets naturally reduce hunger and promote greater fat loss while preserving lean mass. This makes protein a powerful tool, not just for athletes, but for anyone looking to reduce body fat without feeling deprived. Think about this. If every meal is an opportunity to signal muscle growth or repair, are you making the most of it? Because the truth is, muscle isn't just built in the gym. It's built in the kitchen, and it's maintained by what you consistently feed your body. So whether your goal is to get lean, stay strong, or age powerfully, protein should be at the center of your nutritional strategy. Let's take a moment to step back and truly absorb what we've just explored. Over the last 6 sections, we've unpacked some of the most robust and actionable science on how nutrition can transform not just your physique, but your mental clarity, your emotional stability, your energy, and your resilience over time. And the most empowering truth is this: it's not about restriction, it's about rhythm. Not about perfection, but precision. Here's what the research shows and what you can begin applying today. Whole, nutrient-dense foods aren't just fuel. They're signals to your brain, gut, and hormones. They shape your cravings, your mood, and your metabolism. Insulin and glucose regulation are central to body composition, focus, and energy, and you can influence them dramatically through the quality, timing, and composition of your meals. Hunger and satiety hormones like ghrelin and leptin are not just passive responses. They can be trained through mindful eating patterns, sleep, protein intake, and movement. Ultra-processed foods hijack your dopamine circuitry. But with awareness, you can reclaim your reward system and rewire your habits. Your circadian rhythm isn't just for sleep. It governs digestion, fat burning, and hormonal alignment. Eating in sync with light cycles and using time-restricted feeding can enhance metabolic health. And finally, protein intake is not just for bodybuilders. It's essential for muscle preservation, aging well, fat loss, and long-term vitality. When you get it right in quantity, quality, and timing, you send a powerful anabolic signal to your entire system. But perhaps the most important insight of all is this: every meal is an opportunity to direct the course of your biology. You are not at the mercy of cravings or genes or aging. You are a dynamic, adaptive organism, and choices shape your cellular environment every single day. If that feels overwhelming, let's distill it into a simple challenge, something you can do today. Here it is. Pick one protocol from this episode, just one, and implement it consistently for the next 7 days. It could be starting your day with 30 grams of protein, cutting off food intake 3 hours before bed, replacing one ultra-processed snack with a whole food option, eating your largest meal at lunch instead of dinner. Don't aim for a total overhaul. That's not how real change happens. Aim for alignment between your habits and your biology. Because when you align your eating with how your brain and body are wired to thrive, something profound happens. You stop fighting yourself. You start flowing with your natural momentum, and progress, real sustainable progress, begins to feel effortless. So if this message resonated with you, I invite you to like this video, leave a comment with the tool you're going to try, and subscribe to join a community that's committed to evidence-based growth. This channel is here to help you bridge the gap between neuroscience and daily life so you can feel stronger, clearer, and more in control of your mind and body. Let's build the habits and the biology for the life you want to live. You've got this.